music just for you.
Get ready to experience the One Music Fest like never before.
That's right.
One lucky winner is about to score the ultimate festival experience. We're talking 2 platinum passes for you to get.
Check this out.
Flights, hotel, and ground transportation are all covered.
It's a full VIP experience at the biggest family reunion in the world.
And it's all brought to you by P&G and their Bevel, Febreze, and Downey Unstoppables brands.
Mark your calendars.
One Music Fest is going down at D-Mart Park in Atlanta on October 25th and 26th. Get ready for 2 days of nonstop music featuring some of the hottest artists.
We're talking Future,
Doechii,
Kalani, The Roots with Mary J,
Ludacris, and the legendary Dungeon Family, plus many more artists
that you just can't miss.
Want to get in on this? Head over to omfsweepstakes.com to enter for a chance to win. Don't sleep on this chance to vibe out with your crew at One Music Fest. No purchase necessary over the legal residents of 50 U.S. and D.C. who are 18 years of age or older as the last day of the month prior to entry. The P&G One Music Fest Flyway Sweepstakes starts at 12 a.m. Eastern on 9/22/25 and ends 11:59 p.m. Eastern on 10/10/25.
It's time to focus with Robert McKay. Quality conversation, protecting, preserving, and preparing our past, present, and future. Sunday evenings at 4 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. You never know who's going to stop by WVON.
Patrice Russian, she's in studio with me right now. Patrice, how you doing?
Great. The Tate Brothers, it's good to, be here.
Buddy Guy, welcome to WVON.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed, my honor.
Live and in studio, as I promised you, Chance the rapper.
I feel great.
We are the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
The views expressed on our programs are not necessarily those of WVON, Midway Broadcasting Corporation, or our participating sponsors.
It's the Wake Up Show with the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
Welcome to the Wake Up Show, Chicago.
Rise and shine. It's the Wake Up Show, where every sunrise is a call to action. Powered by the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, we are the champions of change, advocating for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the world of corporate and government contracting. It's not just a show, it's a movement. So get ready for another dynamic journey as we wake up the world to a new era of opportunities and empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, President Larry Ives.
Right. Good morning, Chicago and America. This is such a wonderful Saturday. Larry Ivory, we are so happy to bring to you live the Wake Up Show Chicago. I'm LaDonna Ray with Ray Consulting, and I'm also with WVON 1690. We just want to welcome you and make sure that you know that this show is powered by the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce and sponsored by Wind Creek Chicago Southland each and every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And we come to you live on YouTube and Facebook. So make sure you tune in, tap in, and share the show. Don't forget to write the number down so that you can give us a call live, and that's 773-591-1690. And we'll take those calls during this hour of power. But before we dive into today's discussion, I have to introduce who I am co-host to. That's right. He's a man, a leader in Black business advocacy, serving as president and CEO of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce and also chairman of the board of the National Black Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. I like to call him Uncle Larry, but you know him as Dr. Larry Ivory. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to Donna Ray, and good morning to the Wake Up Show listening audience with WVON, which we're proud to be on the air doing what we do. Let me just pause for a moment. For those who may not know, my father was a minister, and he says, give honor where honor's due. We lost someone very special to our organization, a Mr. Lee Coleman, which was one of the great advocates on behalf of Black business. He was the regional VP for the Southern region. He was the EEO officer for District 8 for quite a number of years, and just a fierce competitor. And Lee succumbed to cancer. He had his funeral this Friday. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge a great man who had his heart for the people And, when I think about people who really, put it out, put things at risk. And I always tell this quick story, LaDonna, when we had a meeting, and to the listening audience to show you what kind of person Lee Coleman was. We had a meeting with IDOT and we were going back and forth. And Lee was in the meeting, but he was working for IDOT. And he had all the leadership in the meeting. And Lee is instructing me what to say because he had the inside information, and there his bosses are sitting across the table. We finally had such a heated conversation that I stood up and walked out of the meeting, kind of turned over the table. I walked out of the meeting. Who's following behind me? Lee Coleman. I'm like, Lee, what are you doing, man? And he said, man, I'm with you. I'm with the people. That's it. That was the kind of person he was. He never wavered in his commitment. So, it would be remiss for me not to let people who knew Lee Coleman, and if you knew him, you knew everything I said is no exaggeration. Matter of fact, it may be an understatement of who he was and what he represented for Black people throughout the state and throughout the country. So a
Very well
moment
said.
of recognition for Lee Coleman. Hey, LaDonna, but I'm really excited to continue the work that Lee Coleman focused in on, and that's really information. Lee had a newspaper that he wrote for. He did a number of things, but we were always talking about, and he brought me on the air of his radio show numerous times. But we were always focused on how to strengthen Black people through strengthening Black businesses. And today, our conversation today is going to be, I think, an epic conversation because we have the one and only Bruce Montgomery, who is no stranger to WVON. He hosts his own show, but he also sits on a very critical board, the CEI Commission that he represents. But even though he sits there, he really does do a fantastic job in terms of informing people, not just about what's happening in state government, but he makes sure that everybody knows about all the positive things happening out there in the business community. He promoted our show. He promotes everybody else who's doing something out there. So we're really honored to have this conversation with Mr. Bruce Montgomery. But also we're going to have on the show with us, LaDonna, the one and only, the incredible attorney who was one of the key counsel for McDonald's globally, and also was a person who led the Black McDonald's, represented the Black McDonald franchise group, and then worked for Jeff Bezos, and just an incredible guy, runs his own law firm. And we're proud to have him to be a part and the president of the Illinois Black Business PAC, one of the most powerful PACs in the state of Illinois. He is the president. I am the chairman of the board. He's also going to join us. So if you're listening, call your friends, listen to this call because we're going to give you information. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to, LaDonna, yield back to you to introduce none other than Bruce Montgomery. But I want to set the stage. When we talk about procurement and money and fairness and equity, that's an important issue that we should always be willing to have an honest conversation. Too often that we don't have conversations on this subject, not often enough. And too often we blame everybody else and not take an inward look at what we're doing wrong. So today, I hope this conversation will not be on what's wrong also, but what we can begin to do and what responsibility we have as leadership and as we have as Black people to make sure that we get the legitimate opportunity we deserve, because the numbers point to something that we all should be concerned about. So I'm excited to be on the call with my friend LaDonna Ray and my friend Bruce Montgomery. And nothing but love for you, LaDonna, because you do such a fantastic job. And, your passion, your commitment to everything. And I can just say I'm proud of the fact that I can call you my colleague, my friend, and the fact that you are passionate about what you do and that you never waver in terms of your commitment. You're always willing to have an open mind to discuss things. And I love that about you. So I just wanted to make sure, in these moments, because we never know how much time we got. So it's important to the people that you care about to take a moment to say to them how proud you are of the work that they do. And I couldn't be prouder, LaDonna Ray, of you.
I really appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. Well, we got to get our guest on because that hour goes by so fast, Larry. And as you spoke earlier, our guest is a true pioneer in Chicago's tech and business community. Bruce Montgomery is the founder and president of Montgomery and Company, a digital media and technology firm, and the creator and host of Technology Access Television, the city's longest running show on tech and innovation. He also hosts Rebuilding Black Chicago right here on WVON 1690. And in 2016, he launched the entrepreneurship training program in Inglewood, helping small businesses with education, access to capital, and money management. He's a Northwestern graduate with business studies at Dartmouth, and he continues to be a driving force for innovation and entrepreneurship in our city. Please welcome Bruce Montgomery. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
All right. Larry?
Say, Bruce, you and I have had, we've been friends for a long time and we know each other well. And when we see something that's not working, our job is to inform the community as to what's going on and really try not to just inform, but to impact and bring about change. And today, some time ago, we were taking a look at the numbers of BEP certified firms. And that's the Business Enterprise Program that certifies all minority business. And the numbers had gone down dramatically across the board, but especially for African Americans. So let's talk about what those numbers were, what they are now, and why we ought to be concerned about, the numbers and how the numbers impact how people set goals at the same time.
Well, Larry, thank you again for all your hard and persistent work on behalf of business owners in the state of Illinois and across the country and around the world. Congratulations on your recent trade mission to Africa and the contacts that you made over the years. The last time I was in Peoria with you for the Illinois State Black Chamber Convention, you had some representatives from the continent that were there present, and you've continued to create those links. And I think this is endemic of exactly this conversation we're going to have this morning is we have to certainly have a local view. We've got to have a statewide view, but we also have to have a global view. And so you worked hard to give us that lens, have those resources. And as most people in business know, it comes down to the quality of our relationships that matter so much. Relationship capital is as important as any capital in business endeavors. And so relationship capital matters, and having the chance to participate in programs like the ones you offer with our convention and ongoing activities. And so when you talk about these areas of certification, there's no shock that people, again, in these very, very peculiar times that we find ourselves in, a lot of people have said, well, this attack on DEI, this attack on minority businesses, this rollback of programs from the Small Business Administration to the Minority Business Development Agency to 8A contracting at the federal level. A lot of folks have said, maybe the government's not open for business. Maybe I need to look somewhere else. This is a time of great entrepreneurial interest in the part of the Black community. During COVID, which was an extremely challenging time during the pandemic, African Americans and African American women in particular led the league, led the country in the establishment of activities. Black women said, I can't wait and sit on the sidelines and do nothing. They came out of the pandemic full speed ahead, starting businesses, getting creative, being involved in entrepreneurship programs, leading those types of programs, both locally and nationally. But a lot of folks have not looked towards doing business with the government because they look at government leadership and think, what's really there for me? And so that's one of the reasons that we see an impact on the numbers being down. But we cannot afford to turn our attention away from the opportunities of doing business in the same places that we pay and contribute so much to the tax base. When you think about how much we pay in property taxes in the state of Illinois, when you think about all the taxes that are paid at the city, state, county, and federal level, the government is still in business. And one of the smoke screens that's trying to be portrayed by the characters that are puppet mastering government activities at the federal level, the government is still a huge customer for any company that's doing any business wherever they're doing it. So we have to take a strong look, as you're saying, Larry. There are tens of thousands of Black-owned businesses in the state of Illinois, yet we have barely 1,000 companies that are enrolled and registered to do business with the state that they're in. And, the state of Illinois, whether it's the, as you mentioned, the Illinois Department of Transportation, the Tollway, the Cook County the Illinois State Department of Corrections, Central Management Services, which is headed by an African-American leader of that agency, which is the business manager for the state of Illinois, has got a dynamic team. The state has a $50+ billion budget. And under the times of the current governor, the state legislature has approved a $50+ billion budget every year that the governor's been in office. So the state is open for business. The state is contracting. The state is actually paying in a timely manner for the businesses. Another reason small businesses and Black businesses don't turn toward the state is people want to be paid for the work that they do. They want to know if they provide goods and services to the state that they're going to be compensated. And when they send that invoice is going to be paid in a timely manner. That wasn't always the case, but it is the case now. And so this is a time that we must come back to the table and take the time to become certified as a small business and as a minority business, as a Black-owned business. There are programs in the state of Illinois, the Small Business Set-Aside Program, which you've championed for many years. The Small Business Set-Aside Program and the Sheltered Market Program are available to businesses right now in the state. But far too state agencies are using these tools that are in the procurement process to direct contracts so that our businesses, instead of just being subcontractors, can be prime contractors. The main contract can go directly to a small and minority business under the Small Business Set-Aside Program and under the Sheltered Market Program. But we are not advocating that agencies use these vehicles to the extent that they can. And so, like you're saying, Larry, the ball is in our court.
Bruce, let me ask this quick. Let me chime in real quick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The one of the things that procurement is it's a complicated animal, as you know. Some people think we understand procurement, but there's a lot of rules and information when it comes to procurement. And if you don't understand procurement at the level you should, you can waste a lot of time, asking the wrong questions if you don't understand how procurement works and understand the rules and regulations. So I want to just for a moment dive into LaDonna and to Bruce, is that when we have 5,000 plus certified firms, and now we have 3,000 plus certified firms, and we only have close to a little bit over 1,000 African-American firms, when they're setting goals, that impacts their ability to set higher goals. Now, the caucus passed legislation that had the incredible intent to improve minority spend by 50%, from 20 to 30%. That's a 50% increase. And it was great intentions. But great intentions does not mean great results. And so when you don't have as many certified firms, you can't set higher goals as a rule of thumb. You want to give me your perspective on that? Then I think LaDonna has a question. Then we're going to bring Robert Johnson on the call also. So if you could be kind of brief, Bruce, and give us your perspective on what happens when we don't have certified firms and how it impacts goal setting.
Well, you're exactly right, Larry. We fall woefully short of these opportunities There is a nefarious activity in the procurement process where instead of going with that aspirational goal of 30%, if there's no vendors listed in those various categories, then the agencies will ask for waivers and say, well, we can't find any people in this category, so we want to set the goal aside and have no goals in these areas. So what we have to do, Larry, is we have to take action. I would ask everybody listening to this call to go to cei.illinois.gov. That's C as in Charles, as in E as in Edward, I as in Illinois, cei.illinois.gov, and peruse that website. The State of Illinois certification program is free. There is no cost to have your business certified as a minority, women-owned, African-American-owned business in the state of Illinois. It is a free program. We need to commit today that we are going to at least double, if not triple, the numbers of firms in there so that they can't do exactly what you're saying, Larry, and that's have no goals on these contracts. And then we have to show up. When we have meetings like the CEI meeting commission that meets every month, and we have the Business Enterprise Council, which you served on, so committed for so many years and fought so hard for programs like the Sheltered Market Program, we can't have it today when these meetings go on and have zero attendance from our chambers, from our Black businesses, from our contractors, from our people involved with workforce development. We need to be keeping a watchful eye on this activity. And the way we do it is get certified, show up at the meetings, ask the questions, demand that the agencies have programs. And when people like the tollway that has multiple billions of dollars of Illinois money, that money is not managed by federal dollars. It's not impacted by the craziness coming out of Washington. And we have a phenomenal Black head at the tollway, Miss Cassandra Rouse. Absolutely. We have to show up when they have programs like coming up, contracting with government programs later in the month of October. We've got to show up and turn those meetings out and make sure that we are in all of the areas, IT, construction, professional services, legal, financial planning, and those kinds. It's nothing that the state doesn't use in these agencies, but we have to turn the tables, as you said, and make sure that we're registered, we're listed, and when these procurement opportunities meetings happen, like the state of the tollways meeting of contracting with government, we've got to show up in mass and let them know we're here to do business.
Let me jump in for a second. I want to make sure that everybody knows they can give us a call at 773-591-1690. You're listening to the Wake Up Show Chicago with Dr. Larry Ivory. And of course, our esteemed guest is Bruce Montgomery. But you mentioned something earlier, Larry. You said, a lot of people, not a lot of people know what procurement is. And I just want to put that out there. Procurement is just a formal word for how government or big organizations buy goods and services. So a lot of times we don't feel like we are qualified for procurement, but we are. They need everything down to toilet paper or whatever their supplies may be. And the procurement process usually involves identifying a need. So they have to identify that they need your services or your products, setting requirements, who qualifies to provide it, bidding and the proposal. This is what we're talking about today, and the award contracts. The other thing is you mentioned BEP certification. Someone may not feel like they need to be BEP certified, but BEP certification stands for, as I actually talked to you about, Larry, business enterprise. I thought it was Black for one moment, but business enterprise program certification in Illinois. It's a state program that verifies your business as being owned and controlled by a minority, woman, or person with a disability. So this is just the information documented that you are who you say you are. And why does this matter? It's because once you're BEP certified, your business can qualify for state contracts that are specifically set aside to make sure that diverse businesses get a fair share of the opportunities. We have Universal Prather on the line. Larry, I'm going to pick him up.
Okay, go right ahead.
UP, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone?
Everyone's good and great.
Universal.
What you got for us?
All right. Well, thank you for having me on the show this morning.
Hey, first, before Universal starts, Universal, give them your background because I think it's relevant because you're a data scientist and you eat and live data. So give us a little bit of your background and then get right into your question, because we got some other guests, I think, going to be calling in, and we want to give Bruce as much time for us to talk about what we can do. At the end of this program, we want to talk about what we can do besides showing up. We can write letters and do other things also. We're going to hit that, make sure that everyone understands how you can help us. Go right ahead, Universal.
I hate I didn't have his intro ready. Wish I would have known. Go ahead, UP.
Absolutely. My name is Universal Prather. I manage a social impact research firm called Over Inertia. And what we do is we take data and we utilize data to create programs that create positive social impact. In this case here, just looking at the data that CEI is providing towards procurement, especially for minority businesses here in the state of Illinois. It's the data is really telling a horrifying story. And just for an example, when you're looking at the goal, the state is setting goals at 30%. But when we look at what's actually being hit out on those goals, you're looking at just at 3% of those goals. And it's not just for 2025, 2024, but it's a historic pattern that's going on where those marks are just not being hit. Some questions, right? I know I was geared to say, how to make this make more sense, right? Did you know Illinois promised to spend 30 cents for every state dollar with Black, Brown, women, and disability-owned business owners? But in reality, only 3 cents make it through. When you look at, if the state missed its promise by $8.7 billion in 1 year, where do you think that money went? Right. So if they're saying, if we could draw out, right, and we can use tools such as Power BI or Tableau to really make sense of where these dollars are going. And we're going to need some more transparency from the state to be able to say, oh, okay, we're not just saying how much was spent, but now we're saying, okay, this is exactly where it went. I know, Larry, we talked about dollars subject to goals, right? For the common people who are not into this, that really won't make any sense. But when we take the lens of data science and we begin to break that down, we understand that these dollars are not going back into Black-owned businesses, but they're being circulated back into non-DEP businesses that are getting those funds.
Absolutely.
Well, I think first of all, let me say that I'm very quickly. I am so happy that you are on the line and on the call today, because this is the exact type of diligence that we need. We need to come into the modern era, and the only way you can do that is through. We're in the area of AI. It should not be a problem for us to unbundle all of this information and ask our legislators. We've got a Speaker of the House. We've got a legislative Black caucus. We've got a legislative Black caucus policy summit coming up next weekend. We've got a chair of appropriations. And so the numbers that you are describing are the kind of questions that we should be putting forth. And that needs to be done at a granular level, so we can look at key state agencies by agency and look at their spend and unbundle that spend. And then we've got a comptroller that knows where every check goes in state monies and what primes are getting paid and what people aren't being paid. So again, we must use a data-driven approach. We must use the kind of analytics that has been described. And I appreciate that very much. And you have an organization. Again, each of our meetings are public meetings. And the kind of questions that we're raising today need to be continually raised, because you don't use data just every now and then. You don't look at if you're on Google Maps trying to go somewhere and you say, I'm going to look when I start and I'm going to look. No, you look as you go. And so we need to be using data month over month, week over week, and unbundling these procurements and subject to goal issues and making sure that the goals are there. But like Larry said at the top of the show, we have to be in the program to benefit from the program. We can't be casting aspersions from the sidelines and not even be registered to play ball.
Absolutely. You can't complain about who gets elected if you don't vote. So, hey, let me just make this comment. The other side of this equation, as we take a look at the data and we get into some of the things that are hurting us and things that we need to fix, the other part of this equation, once you get certified, you got all your stuff together, we have to understand that we have to get people when the final selection is done, we got to make sure, like the Hispanics do, that we're on that selection committee, that there are people there who are making decisions. That is, they're making a decision about who's going to win that contract. There may be three finalists, and someone is going to say, this person wins. And if we're not understanding the procurement process and how to challenge it, and when we win, I've seen cases where we win and we lose. We win the contract, but there's an objection. And that objection ends up throwing us out, and we don't end up winning the bid. Or there's a technicality that exists. See, there's another level. And I think we're going to have to, from my perspective, Bruce, we're going to have to tackle this from a level of here's what happens, here's what the data paints, without painting any picture other than what the data says and how to fix it. Then we got to get granular into the process of what's happening and how to challenge when people who deserve to win and should win by all definition. And I got countless of cases that I know of personally where it should have been hands down an African American because they qualified, and someone came up with the smallest insignificant thing to throw that person out. We got to protect that. That's where the chamber, that's where other organizations come in. And that's where the CEI Commission comes in to be able to say, look, we got a problem. Bruce, and to the leadership of the CEI, here's what happened. And this is why this procurement process was tainted. We got to make sure that we know the CPO, which is the Chief Procurement Officer, the SPO, which is the State Procurement Officer, and the APO. All those individuals have a role to play in procurement. And we got to push more sheltered markets. So I'm excited because, Bruce inspires me. And when I hear the data that I'm hearing from all across the state, I know it's time for us to get involved and get engaged and really, push this agenda. So I'm excited to be a part of the conversation to push this.
And Larry, we have to be strategic. And again, I know, LaDonna, you're going to come in, and I'll just be very brief. But again, we have some key agencies. There are 160 odd different state agencies. You can't be all places at one time. But we need to pick a couple of agencies that we have solid leadership in, like Central Management Services, like the Illinois Tollway, like the Capital Development Board. And we need to unbundle what's going on there, show up at these public meetings, make sure that we're a part of the process, leveraging support resources like our Apex accelerators under the leadership of the DCEO and the competent team that we have there. And so Illinois is a place that has the infrastructure, the support mechanisms, the public-private partnerships. We are winning. Our numbers may be diminished from what they were a few years ago, but Blacks are successfully providing goods and services to the state of Illinois. We're just talking about scaling it to the next level. And by having these conversations and being consistent, we can't show up once a year and complain. We've got to show up at our opportunity sessions. And so, again, when CEI has its monthly meetings, when the BEP Council has its bi-monthly meetings, the same kind of conversation we're having here today, we need to have there in these public sessions and make sure that when bid openings and pre-bid meetings, and like we said at the top of the show, it all comes down to relationships. You have to be known. We have to know who you are. You have to want to play in this league. And whenever the rules are clear and we know what they are and we use our legal authority, we win.
Yeah. We got Robert Johnson on the line, but before I get to him, I want to ask this question. I can't help but think about the jokes that my father used to tell me, the black man, the white man, and the Chinese man. So if you have those different demographics representative in the BEP Council that make the decisions, how fair is it? Does it, if you have someone that's representing each group, how do they determine Who gets what?
Because contracting is not based on skin color.
Okay.
It's not based on coming in and saying, well, this has to go here and this has. People, we've got, just like the young man who was talking about using the BI tools and using Tableau. People can win because they know what they're doing and they're competent and skilled, and they offer the best value compared to anybody of whatever stripe. And so when we're in these various opportunities, people, when you talk to a company like a business like Steve Davis, a company that's a multi-generation business in the field that they're in, they win business because they're the best. They don't win business. Millhouse Engineering, BOA Construction. These firms are building multi-billion-dollar projects because they know how to do it, and they do it damn well. And so when you come to this game, nobody's going to cut you a check just because you're a brother and you show up. You got to bring your A team, your A game. You got to, and many times you're the best price value delivery. That's the way the state contracting works. And we're not scared of that. And we've never been scared of that. So I think the good thing is we have a transparent process that can shine the light of day on these programs and allow for us to innovate and be high-value solution providers. And I know that the businesses that I know are not scared in any way, shape, or form of competing with the best that's out there, whether it's IT services, whether it's engineering, civil engineering services. We've got some phenomenal Ardmore engineers. We got some people that know how to get it done. And guess what? They are putting in work at the tollway, at IDOT, at these other agencies. And this goes across the board, whether it's city, state, county, or federal. Our firms can compete and win.
Yeah, that's groovy. All right, so I want to thank Universal for those statistics. And Bruce, you're hitting it on the head. And now it's time to get our next guest, Robert Johnson, a social impact entrepreneur who calls himself a lawpreneur. I love that. Blending law and business to drive change. He's the founder and managing partner of the Solomon Group, LLC, helping minority and women entrepreneurs access business management, legal services, and private equity. With more than 30 years of experience in law, franchising, venture capital, and economic inclusion, Robert has held leadership roles with Bezos Academy, the YWCA, and even McDonald's Corporation, always focused on closing the racial wealth gap. Please welcome Robert Johnson. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, LaDonna. Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today?
Hey, just fine. Attorney extraordinaire.
Yes. Oh yeah. How dare I say Robert Johnson? I forgot I got to put a handle on it.
Yeah. That's why I had to jump in there, LaDonna.
Yeah.
We ain't just talking to anybody here.
Robert, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm calling you guys from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. I'm attending the Congressional Black Caucus, and so I wanted to take this time to chime in on the conversation that you guys were having relative to the state of Black business in particular. We at the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce have revived our political action committee, and I think the stats that I heard from Universal just a few moments ago belie the need for us to be engaged in the political process, to hold our leaders accountable, to address the inequities that exist from a business perspective. Because from my perspective, we talk a lot about the poor health outcomes and the crime and the violence and all of the things that exist in our community. That's not endemic to who we are. It's more endemic to the fact of the position that we've been put in economically. Our poor health and crime outcomes are a result of poor wealth outcomes. We're not violent by nature. We're not an unhealthy people, but we are experiencing poverty and experiencing lack and experiencing economic disparities that lead to all of the other ills that belie our community. And so I think it was Bruce that said earlier, in terms of when you look at Illinois in particular, we have one of the blackest states in the country in terms of leadership, all the way from the lieutenant governor to the Speaker of the House, to the Attorney General, to the mayor, to the Cook County Board President, a number of our commissioners, the Black Caucus. I mean, we have folks in place that should be delivering for our people. So our role in the as a PAC is to educate our folks about who it is that's in office, to provide those in office with some accountability, to provide us some transparency with regard to what is being done and what's not being done for our people. And so we're calling on all of you all to help support the PAC because of what we're emboldened to do is to hold those folks accountable, to have them come before you as a people to talk about what it is that they have done, what it is that they haven't done, and more importantly, what is it that we need them to do. So we're excited under Larry's leadership and guidance. We've resurrected our political action committee, particularly at this time when everybody and their uncle is running for something right now. This is the perfect time to grab their attention because all of them want to come into our community and talk about what it is that they plan to do. But we want to show them the scorecard of what it is that they haven't done and hold them accountable to what it is that they need to do.
Well, hey, Robert, I couldn't have said that better. Again, I think that's exactly the creative genius that we need is what Bruce has talked about, us getting engaged, getting involved, and then to understand the politics and the power of a PAC. And people should give to the PAC because the PAC is designed for one thing, and that is to find the right people to support. And I've served with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and they give money to politicians, but they make sure those politicians they give the money to share their free market values and everything else. They don't get money if they don't carry the water, and they hold them accountable in terms of their support financially and everything else. We have to do the same thing. That's why the political PAC is so important in terms of the scheme of the things that we're doing in terms of having an impact and getting the desired results that we're looking for. So, Robert, you got any?
So we're in the process now getting organized, organizing similar to the way it used to be, where we're organizing, particularly in the city of Chicago, block by block. And so if you have an interest in joining the PAC and learning about the structure, because although Chicago is a big focus for the state of Illinois, but we're also looking to organize across the state so that it truly will reflect all of Black Illinoisans so that it has a voice and a perspective that is just not focused on the urban areas, but we understand that some of our friends in the outlying Chicagoland and rural counties and communities also need support, and that their politicians also need support, and that Black businesses need to thrive throughout the state of Illinois. So that's our focus is getting the entire state of Illinois to speak in one accord with regard to a Black agenda for Black business and for the Black community.
Hey, Robert, let me thank you for, your representation. You're out there in Washington, D.C. with the Black Caucus. And I know that you're doing what you do well in terms of listening and in terms of challenging our leaders on Capitol Hill. So thanks a lot for the work, the value that you bring to the table, and your continued leadership and friendship with the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, LaDonna, Bruce, and everyone.
Of course.
Talk to you soon.
Attorney Robert
right,
Johnson. Thank you. All right, Larry. So we have about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure that the listeners that are out there listening, I know they're taking notes, have something that they can sink their teeth into. We've already given them an actionable item. And Bruce, can you repeat that website for me, please?
Be happy to. The commission that I serve on as a commissioner for the state of Illinois Commission on Equity and Inclusion, this was something that was established directly out of legislation designed and implemented by the Black Caucus to have a body that would provide oversight for the spending agencies. Our agency doesn't do any spending. The only thing we do is track and manage and provide the oversight for implementing the goals and objectives that we've been talking about here today. It's the Commission on Equity and Inclusion, and our website is cei.illinois.gov. And that organization also provides the management of the Business Enterprise Program, as you described, the Business Enterprise, or BEP. And this is the free program in the state of Illinois for registering and certifying a small business to do business. And also, let me say, too, that we oversee the Veterans Program. And let's not leave veterans out, because veterans are a key component of business and entrepreneurship and economic development. And as Robert Johnson said, we must get serious about economic empowerment, about financial literacy, about financial well-being. And when our businesses, because most of the jobs that are created in our community are created by entrepreneurs in our community, business owners in our community. So when veterans have successful businesses that are employing 3, 5, 10, 15 people, when we're creating jobs for our returning citizens, one of the most successful businesses that I know in Chicago has done just that. A good friend of mine, Jimmy Williams with Urban Roots, he's created 20, 30, 40 jobs for people in the community, doing landscaping and exterior architecture work, now doing general contracting. These are the heroes of our community that are creating jobs, 5, 10 jobs at a time. And these are the real backbone for home buying, for school boards, for the community services, that for our faith-based organizations. You can't have anybody in the pews and making contributions if they don't have resources to do that. So we've got to support our entrepreneurs and get involved with programs like the Business Enterprise Program. And again, we have public meetings on a monthly basis, and the kinds of data questions that we're talking about and programmatic questions to make sure that the small business set aside and the sheltered market program get implemented by these agencies to allow our businesses to be prime contractors on projects. That happens when we demand that those things happen, and we make sure that our legislators like Senate Leader L.G. Sims, who's over appropriations, and other people that are great leaders in the Chris Welch, who's our speaker, they have to know how important this is to our community. And through the programs that Larry is driving, I think they're going to get it. And this is a good time, even though it doesn't look like it at the national level. These are still the laws of the state of Illinois. So with our attorney general, with our governor in Illinois, these laws are still on the book. We have to make them work in our behalf.
All right. Larry, I want to make sure that Universal is brought back in so that we can, be respectful of his time as well. Universal, I know that you brought some statistics, and are there any summarizing numbers that you can share with us before we let you go?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the bottom line takeaways is, how do we move forward? Data necessarily exposes trends, and as a data scientist, we look at those trends and we look at the story that's being shared. The saying goes, if it happens one time, it's probably a phenomenon, but if it happens twice, there's something behind that. And the data is telling a story, and the story is, we have to break this trend. We have to break this trend so that we take aspirational goals of 30% and make that into some type of concrete, actionable, accountable number where it just doesn't fall. Whatever crumbs that fall through to Black businesses isn't 3%, isn't 2%, isn't 4%, but actually held accountable so that businesses can see whether if it's $1 billion to $30 billion, because when we have access to that kind of money, we can cure the ills of our own community
and take care of our own community.
Right. We can we can take those dollars from the businesses that we run, and we can make sure that families have access to homes and the purchases of homes and the better improvement of schools, and the kids have something to do in terms of having some type of jobs, and so on and so forth. So that's the only actionable or final thing that I can say at this moment, and make sure everyone who is listening to this, and it doesn't matter who you are, but join the chamber, right? You have people like Larry, who is leading this effort so that our children can have a better world to live in 40 years from now. And data gets deep because with these trajectories, we can look into the future and say, hey, where will this take us 10 years from now? Where will we be 50 years from now? And we want to be able to sit at the helm and drive our actions that we use today to make sure that we get to a better future. So what you can do right now, listening, if you haven't connected with the chamber, make sure you make that happen. Make sure you call. Make sure you sign up. Make sure you get involved. And with the climate that's going on today, it is telling us, get together. Get together.
Well, we got 2 minutes, so I know.
Join the chamber.
Yeah, that's really the bottom line. And Larry, he stole my thunder, but it's all good. That's how I close the show. But he's so right. And how do we, Bruce? Any final short words for real?
I just really appreciate what you guys are doing. The Chamber is a steady organization. It's been steady for more than 20 years in Illinois. So, again, we've got to support our statewide chamber, but we've got to support our chambers in our various communities. And so, again, let's not just have this conversation every now and then. Let's make sure that each week this show goes on. Let's talk about what progress we've made on goals and what improvements we made, and come to the meetings that we have, the public meetings, and put this on the table so that the agencies have to respond to our demands. Thank you so much.
Nice. Very good. Larry, closing remarks from you, and then we'll
No,
close.
I think that Bruce said it, Universal said it, Robert said it, and we just got to be about the business of doing business and be thought-provoking, but take action. Like Dr. Serna says, activity is not accomplishment. Okay,
He
you got to
does say
have
that.
accomplishment and get something done that we can come back and report to, and they are to hold us accountable for making sure we get people to these meetings and that we get people engaged in having a conversation. Because when I was on the BEP Council, we had people that were coming to the meeting. We need to go back to that. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to ask other friends and other agencies who are doing great work to be involved. And we're going to have an impact, Bruce. We're going to have an impact, WVON listening audience, because this is an important issue that we must address. LaDonna, nothing but love for you. And you close us out with the last comment. What's the last comment from LaDonna Ray?
The last comment is, that is our time, family. A big thank you to Bruce Montgomery, attorney Robert Johnson, and Universal Prather for joining us today and dropping so much wisdom, guys. Make sure you tune in each and every Saturday. We are sponsored by Wind Creek Chicago Southland, and this is brought to you by the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, in business since 1997. Where'd I get that from? Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Wake Up Show Chicago and keep our numbers saved for the next time so you guys can call in. We're back next week, or should I say we're black next week at 9 a.m. on WVON 1690. Go to ilbcc.org and join the chamber, become a member, and make miracles happen every day. That's it. Bye-bye for now. See you Monday on the afternoon show.
Get ready to wake up to the pulse of progress as we amplify voices, break barriers, and illuminate the path towards a more inclusive tomorrow. Follow us across the socials at The Wake Up Show Chicago. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. It's The Wake Up Show every Saturday morning at 9, where change begins with every sunrise.
Welcome to The Wake Up Show Chicago.
That's the end?
The talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation is 1690 WVON, Berwyn, Chicago.
Change is always happening.